Misery. Hello, friend. Today I thought of making a video about the difference of living in Canada from living in the Philippines. So anyways, I just want to tell you guys a short story. My name is Alleah. I'm 29 years old and I'm from the Philippines. And we moved here 9 years ago. And in that 9 years of living here, I can already see a lot of difference from living in a developing country, which is the Philippines, the country where I'm from, and living in a country like Canada that has obviously more money. And the first thing is, I was a single mom in the Philippines. Well, even here before, I was a single mom for a long time. I got married last year, and in the Philippines, when you're a single mom, you don't get any support from the government, really. Well, here, when I was a single mom, I was getting $450 per month for my daughter. And actually, here in Canada, even if you're not a single mom, when you have a kid, your kid gets money from the government starting from when they are born up to they are 18 years old. So I think that would be my number one. When you have a kid, you get support from the government. Everything that I'm going to say doesn't represent all the Filipinos who moved here in Canada and everybody's opinions. This is just like my opinion, and this is based on my experience, and it actually varies too, because like in my case, I live in a small town and I don't live in the city, and I'm sure the people who live in the city have different experiences, because it's just like in the Philippines. Everything in the city is a lot more expensive. The city has heavy traffic. Meanwhile, here in a small town, we don't experience a lot of heavy traffic. What else? So the first one is support from the government for your kids. Number two is, because I live in a countryside. Well, I live in Manitoba. All of Manitoba is actually bigger than the Philippines. But just because Manitoba is a province doesn't mean that it's like the whole place is a province. So inside Manitoba, there are big cities as well, and there are small towns. So I live in one of the small towns in Manitoba, and it's called Nipua. And so the third thing I'm gonna say is, here, even when you are just a regular employee who earns like a little bit above minimum, just like me, I just earn a little bit above minimum, you will be able to afford to buy a house and to have vehicles. I guess remember my other vlogs where my friends were saying that everything we have here is actually borrowed, like we just borrow the money, so it like the houses are mortgaged and the vehicles are like actually loaned. Well, in my case, my vehicle is not loaned, like I paid it off already, so I'm not gonna say it's my utang because it's all paid off. But honestly, when you're here in Canada, it's as long as you have a job, it's gonna be easy for you to get a vehicle. And I guess it's still a little bit hard to get a house, but it's easier too than in the Philippines. Again, I live in a small town where everything is a lot cheaper than living in the city. So I think when you're living in a smaller town or in the province, it's easier to actually build a family. Not easier, change location. So as I was saying, when you live in a small town, then when you live in a city. It's easier when you're starting off your family because everything is a lot cheaper. So it's gonna be easier to buy a house, it's easier to buy a vehicle, stuff like that. Because, well, I know I have a friend that right after they were just starting their family and they ended up moving to a big city, and she had a hard time trying to find a job because of course in the city there are more people, so you know there's more competition in trying to find a job, and everything is so expensive. So they used to have a house and they ended up just renting, and yeah, they ended up going back to where they're actually from. And actually, when we moved here, I don't really want to be here in Canada. I just want to be in the Philippines, and I've never dreamed of actually moving out of the Philippines because for me, I just want to be there. I never dreamt of living in a different country. And so when we first moved here, I kept going back home. I went home 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 times. And one time I went home for more than a year. I think almost 2 years I was in the Philippines, and I studied culinary. And my daughter was left back home. So I was just thinking that, you know, if I'm in the Philippines and I build a business and I become successful, I'm actually gonna have a comfortable life. Because I realized that here in Canada, even if you're not rich, your life is pretty comfortable. Like, you have a house, you have a vehicle. In the Philippines, if you're earning a lot more than the average worker, that's when you can actually start. You can get a vehicle. But here, even if you're just earning like a minimum wage, you can get a vehicle. So then yeah, I don't really want to be here. I just want to be in the Philippines. I tried and attempted to build a business, and I failed, and not just one time. I tried 2 or 3 times and I failed every time. And every time I lose money, I would go back here and try to save again until I met my husband now. And that's when I actually started to feel like I'm ready to settle here because, well, he's a Canadian. And now that there's COVID, I also realized that Canada is handling it a lot better than the Philippines. When the numbers started rising up here in Canada, the schools closed. So then I didn't have a job for like 2 months, I think. And for the first 3 weeks, I was able to use my sick time at work. So I was still paid. And for 6 weeks, I was on EI, and the government helped me. And honestly, in that 6 weeks, I got $5,500,000. And I can't imagine if I am in the Philippines. I can't imagine how hard it's gonna be. I'm just so lucky that I'm here in Canada. I'm really starting to realize how privileged I am and how lucky I am to be able to live here, even if it wasn't my dream. And now it just makes me feel like, because I'm a person of faith, and I'm a strong believer that, you know, God has better plans for us all the time than the plans that we have for ourselves. And with all the things that is happening in the world with COVID, I know that Canada is one of the safe countries to be right in this moment. So yeah, that's the difference of living in the Philippines and here in Canada. I am really super blessed to be here now. Actually, before, I also thought of like having dual citizenship, because right now I'm still a Filipino citizen and I'm a Canadian resident, and I wanted to keep my citizenship in the Philippines because I like to invest in the Philippines too. But like with the Philippine economy and everything that's happening right now, I don't know. I am really considering to just be a Canadian citizen, and I don't know, maybe you guys should move here too. Just kidding. But anyways, I don't know, I still have hope for the Philippines. I hope that, you know, at the end of the day, it's still gonna be better for my home country and for the Filipinos, because Filipinos deserve better. So anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you guys had a good weekend. So see you on my next video.